What if I told you that McLaren was hiding its real car during the start of the season, only to launch the final blow at Canada 2026? Because yes, while everyone was watching the fights between Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes, in Woking they were preparing something much bigger. A package of updates so aggressive that within the paddock they already describe it as the second half of a completely new car. Then Miami arrived, and the paddock understood that McLaren was completely serious. The team introduced 7 aerodynamic modifications at the same time. 7. And that in modern Formula 1 is outrageous, because teams normally prefer to introduce small parts little by little to minimize risks. But McLaren did exactly the opposite. It launched a massive, fully integrated package. The front spoiler was redesigned to generate much more efficient airflow around the front wheels. The nose received modifications seeking to improve outwash and reduce lateral turbulence. The side pods were refined to optimize channeling towards the rear of the car. The engine cover was aggressively compacted and the floor received extremely significant changes to the edges and internal channels to stabilize downforce in fast corners. Everything was connected to each other. Each piece depended on the other. And the worst thing for his rivals was that it worked immediately. That detail caused a lot of fear within the paddock. Because when a team introduces so many new parts at once and they all work from day one, it means that the correlation between factory, simulator, and track is practically perfect. And that's exactly what historically set dominant teams apart from the rest. Red Bull had it for years. Mercedes also in the hybrid era. Ferrari many times failed precisely in that. But now McLaren appears to have reached that level of technical precision. And the most important thing is still missing. Because Miami only represented the first part of the project. Canada will be the full version. Furthermore, Montreal could be the perfect setting to demonstrate the real magnitude of this evolution. The circuit Gilles-Villeneuve requires a combination that is extremely difficult to achieve. Aerodynamic efficiency on the straight, stability under hard braking, and outstanding traction on slow starts. These are precisely the areas where McLaren has worked most intensely since 2025. And if the improvements end up working as they hope, they could have a huge advantage over Ferrari and Red Bull. Especially because their rivals arrive with very serious doubts. Ferrari still suffers from major aerodynamic inconsistencies when temperatures change drastically. Red Bull continues to rely too much on Max Verstappen to hide structural problems with the car. Mercedes still cannot find a stable performance window on all circuits. Meanwhile, McLaren arrives with something much more dangerous: technical stability. And in modern Formula 1, that can be even more devastating than simply having the fastest car. Because Montreal punishes absolutely any car instability. Violent braking, aggressive acceleration, and the need to attack curbs make cars suffer a lot mechanically and aerodynamically. Many fast cars in qualifying end up falling apart in the race there precisely for that reason. But McLaren believes it has something different now. Something much more complete. According to the leaks that began to appear within the paddock, the new package includes very important modifications to the lower area of the car, especially around the floor and lateral vortex management. This would not only help generate more stable downforce, but also reduce the unpredictable behavior that appeared in certain fast cornering phases. And if that really works, the MCL40 could become the most balanced car on the entire grid. What's impressive is that McLaren seems to have learned from all the mistakes that destroyed other teams over the past few years. Ferrari, for example, many times fell into the trap of pursuing extreme downforce at the sacrifice of stability. Red Bull went on to develop a car that was extremely fast, but so difficult to drive that only Verstappen could extract its true potential. Mercedes spent entire seasons trying to understand why its aerodynamic concepts did not correlate correctly with the track. But McLaren took a completely different path. Andrea Stella decided to build a car that was less nervous, more predictable, and much more adaptable to different conditions. And that philosophy could end up being the key to everything. In addition, there is another huge factor that is beginning to worry their rivals: the team's internal confidence. Because normally when a team introduces such large updates, there is some fear that something will fail. There may be bouncing, balance problems, unexpected degradation, or simply an incorrect correlation between simulator and reality. But inside McLaren, the atmosphere seems completely different. Rob Marshall's statements were practically a warning to the rest of the grid. He himself explained that this method of building the car in 2 large blocks allows us to maximize development efficiency and ensure that all the parts work as a complete system. That is, McLaren does not want isolated improvements. You want to transform the entire behavior of the car at the same time. And that begins to remind us a lot of the most dominant eras of modern Formula 1. Because historically the most dangerous teams were not necessarily the ones that started the year being the fastest. The truly dominant ones were those capable of evolving better than everyone else as the championship progressed. Exactly what Red Bull did between 2022 and 2023. Exactly what Mercedes achieved during the hybrid era. And now McLaren seems to have found that same evolutionary capacity. The most alarming thing for Ferrari and Red Bull is that the Papaya team still has room for growth. Starting in 2025, the car concept was designed with an eye toward extending the development ceiling for several seasons. The MCL39 had already been born as an extremely aggressive evolution of the previous champion car. Andrea Stella explained that practically all areas of the car were modified in order to open new windows of future performance. That means McLaren didn't just design a fast car, it designed a technical platform ready to constantly evolve. And that's where Canada can become a gigantic turning point for the 2026 season. Because if the package works as they hope, the other teams will not only have to catch up to McLaren in pure performance, they will also have to understand a development philosophy that seems to be working better than any other currently on the grid. Meanwhile, pressure begins to build on the other side. Red Bull has been experiencing moments of enormous technical uncertainty for months. The RB21 has shown unpredictable behavior depending on the circuit and temperature. Many times Verstappen manages to hide these problems with extraordinary laps. But internally the team knows that the car no longer has the overwhelming superiority of previous seasons. Several reports even speak of internal emergency meetings to try to regain clarity in the technical direction of the project. Ferrari doesn't arrive quietly either. Although the Italian car has very high performance peaks, it continues to show worrying inconsistencies in tire management and aerodynamic stability. And Canada has historically been one of those circuits where small balance issues can completely destroy a race. Mercedes for its part remains stuck trying to find a stable window of performance, especially on tracks where temperatures change rapidly over the weekend. And while all of them continue to correct problems, McLaren appears with an update that could change everything. Because the real fear of the paddock is not only that the MCL40 is fast, and there is something that makes all of this even more impressive. McLaren is not acting like a desperate team looking for quick fixes. Quite the opposite. They are developing with a calmness that is very reminiscent of the times when Mercedes or Red Bull had absolute control over the championship. There is no sense of internal chaos. There are no sudden changes in technical direction. There are no drivers constantly questioning the behavior of the car. There is brutal stability. And in Formula One, this stability is usually the prelude to great dominance cycles. Because while Ferrari continues to alternate spectacular weekends with races full of strategic problems, and Red Bull depends more and more on the individual magic of Verstappen to stay ahead, McLaren seems to have found something much more valuable: structural consistency. The car works on practically any type of circuit. Their pilots have absolute confidence. Tire wear is competitive. The technical correlation is excellent. And now comes an evolutionary package specifically designed to extend that advantage even further. In addition, there is another detail that many fans are still not valuing enough: the pair of drivers. Because Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri probably form the most solid and balanced lineup on the entire grid today. Norris is no longer simply the fast driver who occasionally surprised. He is now an established leader capable of managing championships, pressure and technical development. And Piastri continues to evolve at a terrifying speed. The most worrying thing for their rivals is that both drivers have styles compatible with the concept of the car. No one needs an extremely nervous or unpredictable car to extract performance. This allows the team to develop a much more stable and efficient platform. Meanwhile, rivals are beginning to enter a much more psychologically dangerous dynamic. Because it's one thing to lose against a slightly faster car, and quite another to feel that the other team understands the regulations better than you. That is where the true crises within Formula One are born. Red Bull experienced that against Mercedes at certain moments in the hybrid era. Ferrari suffered exactly the same thing for years watching other teams evolve more efficiently. And now many engineers in the paddock are beginning to suspect that McLaren could have found an aerodynamic window superior to the rest. That would explain why the team was so calm during the start of the season. That would explain why they decided to wait until Canada to complete the car. And that would explain why within the paddock they already talk about the MCL40 as the second half of a completely new car. The most incredible thing is that this project might not yet have reached its real ceiling. Because the current regulations enter an extremely delicate phase where each small improvement costs much more to find. Many teams are already beginning to approach the conceptual limit of their cars. But McLaren seems to continue discovering new areas of performance. That means they probably designed a much more flexible architecture from the beginning. And if that's true, the rest of the grid has a huge problem. And the most shocking thing is that their rivals are beginning to feel it. Ferrari continues to be trapped between brilliant moments and mistakes that cost it competitive stability. Red Bull no longer transmits that feeling of unstoppable dominance from previous seasons and depends a lot on Verstappen to stay alive in the fight. Mercedes is still looking for technical answers that have not yet arrived. Meanwhile, McLaren is quietly moving forward with a balanced car, a solid structure, a brutally competitive driver pairing, and a development philosophy that seems to be working better than any other on the current grid. Canada will be the final exam. The moment where we will see if all these pieces really fit together as expected within Woking. And if they do, the championship can change radically from this same Grand Prix. Because we're not just talking about winning a race. We are talking about the real possibility that McLaren has found the formula to dominate this new stage of Formula One. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.